welcome to Sports Trebuchet, issue 32. I'm Marty.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Josh.
If you're new to the show, add us on Twitter at Sports Trebuchet. Email us, sportstrebuchetpod@gmail.com. We'd love feedback, suggested topics, whatever you'd like to hear from us.
Abuse, just
tell us how shit we are. If you like the show, subscribe, share, and let us know by throwing us a review on iTunes or Stitcher. We have a guest in the studio.
The studio.
Alan, how are you?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Alan, do you want us to use your last name?
Sure.
I probably wouldn't. Let's
not do
stick
that.
with
Whatever.
Just in case. You never know what it is. I know
You don't need the dozens
what
and
he's gonna
dozens to come after you.
10 years' time, he gets the Twitter police on him.
Alan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. I've been about 3 months now.
Okay, cool. So we don't mention workplaces, so I'm
Okay.
going to go ahead and beep that out.
Didn't tell me that.
Yeah, that should have led.
All right. Let's see. Okay, I'm 35 years old. Lived in Charlotte about 14 years. From Indiana originally. Love sports. Giant Cubs fan. Colts fan. R.I.P. Andrew Luck. And
See you at the crossroads.
our season. Big wrestling fan for some reason. So I think that's why I'm here.
Because it's wonderful.
It is. It's something. It's great.
It's something.
Well, you hit the demographic for every one of us here in terms of when wrestling was at its pinnacle, and for anybody that's listening that is expecting any NFL talk or particular sport, it's probably going to be pretty shallow today because we're going to go pretty heavy on the wrestling thing with the Wednesday Night Wars coming up quick.
And we had a big weekend.
And we had a big weekend. Oh, yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah, I forgot.
We can
I
talk
totally
about
forgot
that.
That was going to be one of the
Yeah,
ideas.
honestly, if y'all would just remind me of this stuff. That's a lot.
It just happened like 3 days ago.
Yeah, but I've had 2 days off since then. And there's another 2 days in
You had to
between.
take 2 days off after Clash of Champions?
No, I took Monday off, and then today I took off, but as a family thing. And then 2 days of hardly working, really, because there hadn't been much scheduled. So it's really been a lot of empty space still in that time. So let's jump into it then. I guess Alan, did you watch Clash of Champions?
I watched most of it, yes.
Okay, cool. So Kyle, Josh, and I attended Clash of Champions.
Yes.
Second bowl, front row, beautiful seats.
Great commentary behind us.
Great, yeah.
Wow.
We had.
Better than Michael Cole?
Nope.
I would let Michael Cole talk to me 72 hours straight before having to hear that guy's voice again.
Wow, that guy must have sucked.
I think I
It
was
was wonderful.
I think I would rather listen to Michael Cole on repeat saying it's boss time with incredible enthusiasm than have to let one more sentence come from that man's mouth. That's how bad it was.
I would love to hear Michael Cole tell me everything that was vintage about everyone.
Just to go through, it's a laundry list of vintage things that wrestlers do.
Yes.
So for vintage Jericho, we have the Lion Tamer. For vintage Randy Orton, we have
The drop kick.
Kyle. In as little or as much detail as you want to get into, can you describe what was so annoying about the guy that sat behind us?
All of it. He was, okay, so
Very loud.
it was still real to him, damn it. It felt like that, and he was too old for it to be still real for him. To the point where he was, like, willing every face to victory, and, like, every time that, like, a heel would put, like, a move on somebody, it would be like, no, don't do it! Don't do it!
He sounded like... I leaned over, I think, to both of you guys and said, it sounds like he's on the edge of a bridge, or he's got a gun in his mouth, and he's about to end it all the way he was pleading with Sasha Banks. Just
to let go of the hole.
Don't do it. No, please, God, let Becky go. Please, no. She's got the bank statement. Please, God, let her loose.
Truly, from my perspective, as a huge Alexa Bliss fan, it made me feel incredibly normal with the way he spoke about those women. Like, I'm a big fan, but I accept that she is a human and a very talented person, and he was all in on the unrequited love.
Yeah,
For Becky especially.
There was the heavy-handed incel comment of him yelling to Mandy Rose that beauty isn't everything.
Very loudly.
Like at a very quiet part of the match. Like during a rest hold.
Yeah.
Just
beauty isn't everything, Mandy.
Yeah, I think it might have been before the match started when it was silent, before like they rang the bell and there was just not much going on. There wasn't a lot of chants going on. Just beauty isn't everything, Mandy. It was just like, oh, fuck.
and but to put on top of that the incredible mansplaining that he was doing about every angle and every match to any female that was sitting next to him.
Yeah, these two girls had the displeasure of having to have bought seats next to him without knowing their guest next to them prior to the show. And
was he there by himself, you think? Or maybe there was someone to the left?
I would say, based off of what you told me, he was there by himself.
I can't imagine him wrangling anybody else. Well, my friends are coming anytime now. They'll be here.
He lives in kayfabe. And that's,
Yeah, I expected to turn around and probably see like a 15 to 16-year-old dude. No, he's probably our age.
like 25 to 35,
Mid-20s.
depending on where he is.
And 23 sounds right to me only because I was an idiot at 23,
Well,
but about different stuff.
You just can't bring yourself to
I just
accept
hope
that
to God that
someone
a 30-year-old
older is not doing it.
Yeah,
Your hope for humanity is far too high, I think.
And speaking of kayfabe, there were a lot of people dressed up. Not all kids.
Cosplayers, basically.
Yeah. Alan, you have kids, right?
I do.
How old are your kids?
4 and 1.
Have you taken the 4-year-old to a show yet?
No, not yet. One day.
4's a little young. Yeah,
That's a lot of sensory overload at that point.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There was the youngest I saw might be 6. It feels like 6 or 7 seemed to be the right age group.
Yeah, that kid that was sitting right down from us.
Yeah,
he was having a blast. He was having the time of his life.
He really was.
Because it's cool. It's really funny how at 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, that kayfabe, it's still real to me, damn it, is like really endearing. And then there's that line right there at like 15 where if you don't shape up, you're just going to end up being a mark the rest of your life,
It's
I
kind
guess.
of like Santa, ain't it? Like, you have to accept that he ain't real at the same time.
Wait, what
as
the fuck?
The wrestling isn't real too. And like, there is that certain mark where you go past it. But like you said, if you don't, you're that kid behind us.
Right.
So now I can't let my kids listen to this because Josh just ruined Santa for me.
Yeah, you're going to beep it out. I'll be, that'll be even out of context, so it'll be even funnier.
It has nothing to
Why
do
are
with
you
the
letting
litany
your
of
4-year-old listening to the podcast? What are y'all listening to?
How old do you think is because we have 2 parents in the room. So I went to my first sporting event when I was 8, which was a soccer game. Wrestling show I was 10. Because it was a lot longer though. So when do you think is the right time to take a kid to a sporting event like that? Like an hour and a half plus.
And/or wrestling?
Yeah, because I consider it as an event, right? Like,
yeah,
they're the same kind of like you're going to get the same amount of time spent at the wrestling as you would if you went to go and watch the Panthers or the Bears or the Jags. So it's that 3 hours. Like,
you go to a Jags game, you're out of there in an hour because you're done with it.
Like, how old do you think your kiddo is going to have to be before you think this is going to be like they're going to remember it and it's going to be worth a value to them?
I would say when they're actually interested in the product. So right now my daughter is 4. She's not interested in any sort of sports or wrestling at this point. But I mean, if she gets to the point, 7, 8 years old, like you said, when she's interested, I think that'd be...
She gets like the Banks brass knuckles.
Right, yeah, when exactly. I want her to have the glasses.
But she's dreaded her hair.
So we didn't have a Halloween costume for it. That's going to be it now. So that's awesome.
Oh, yes.
She just keeps knocking on your bedroom door going, let me in.
No, that's how
Daddy,
she
I can't
answers.
sleep. Let me in.
That's how she
knocking with the hurt glove.
That's how she answers, or that's how she goes to each door to go get to trick or treat. It's like she's knocking on the door and they're like, "Oh, what are you?" She goes, "Let me in." They think everybody else thinks it's just a home invasion at that point.
Do you show your kids Firefly Funhouse?
Fuck no.
No, that creeps me out.
No, it does me too.
Do you know they
It's
actually
amusing.
sell the puppets? They sell the
Rambling
Mercy
Rabbit?
Rambling Rabbit, Mercy the Buzzard, and another one. I can't remember what it was. I was looking at it the other day.
It's probably Huskis.
All of you looking for Christmas present ideas, since we're kind of on that topic too, think about maybe Mercy the Buzzard for your 4, 5, 6.
It can't be Abby the Witch. It's got to be Huskis.
And I saw somebody carrying around Mercy the Buzzard at the show when we went to the bathroom.
In miming, right?
They were walking around and they were chatting to kids with it. Scaring the living piss out of 7-year-old kids.
It's questionable on other levels right there. But
would it be as questionable if this was Hell in a Cell that we were attending and it was in October?
You're right. Then it's just themed.
Right. Then it seems kind of almost too on the nose. But yeah, for the middle of September, for Mercy the Buzzard to be scaring the shit out of your kids.
They have Mercy the Buzzard, they have Rambling Rabbit, and they have Vince the Devil.
That's great that they're selling Vince the Devil.
Wow. $35.
But in all fairness, it's a big puppet. Like that Mercy the Buzzard, was probably 2 fist size. Like it was a big puppet. So I can get that amount of money.
That's
yeah. If you're looking at a Secret Santa.
So
Josh
back to your answer. So when your answer is when they're interested.
When they're interested, right? When we took our daughter to a Cubs game, she was between 1 and 2, and it was pretty terrible. Because
not much for her to get
getting her to sit still, trying to enjoy the game at the same time. It was 95 degrees at Wrigley Field. It wasn't all that great. So, I mean, Marty, you have kids. What it's like trying to just get them to sit still for 2 hours is exhausting.
Yeah, so for 2.5, I have a 2.5-year-old, and my question almost isn't even the age, but I guess they kind of go hand in hand. It's however long their attention span is.
Yeah,
because I remember
it varies. Right?
I remember going to a Texas Rangers game when I was 7 or 8. And enjoying it, but it wasn't because of the baseball. It's because they had other stuff to do, and I was going with other friends of mine, and so we were kind of goofing off, on a third baseline and having fun. But if you don't, a wrestling show doesn't have that, like some other sporting events. There's not like a tent you can go to have little, weird Firefly Funhouse slide or like the Randy Orton swing.
That's terrifying.
It's the Cesaro swings is what it would be.
Of course.
But the Randy Orton swing could just throw you into a table.
Constantly.
It's the same swing.
You're hanging by. That's almost too graphic. What I almost just
you're
described.
Just running it, power slam you into a trampoline.
Now, as far as going to sporting events and then wrestling, I had a way larger gap. I used to go to Syracuse basketball games when I was 2. Don't remember it, but that was the good luck charm. They never lost when I was there for 8, 9 years. So they'd bring me big games, and
was it for you to get anything
I was a totem, but I mean, we used to go all the time to those games, and I ended up having a huge interest in it. And it was probably easy for me to keep my attention at that kind of a game, really loud, really a lot going on. As far as wrestling, I didn't go until I was 30. So
that's crazy.
That was the house show I went with Dina.
And I suppose that depends on when it comes to you, right? Because in England, they're very clear about when they're coming. It's the same every year. They can plan it. And mine was in the middle of the Attitude Era too. So it was even more planned. It was basically a pay-per-view, which is wild to think that they were having a yearly pay-per-view over there at one point. But you could plan that, and now you have 2 tours, right? We were talking about it. We have just after Mania and around November time. It's coming every year. If you're not so well off, you can save up. If you're well off, you can plan everything ahead and book time off.
And it's a proper tour, right? So they're not just coming to London. They're going to London.
They're showing in London. They're normally filming in London. Their live show is normally London, and then they'll do Newcastle, Brighton, Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham, Nottingham. They'll do 12 dates in the UK alone before they even head over to the mainland. So the accessibility there compared to.
I had great accessibility up in New York.
Oh, you're just a shit fan.
Yeah, so at that point, I don't think I could have talked my parents into taking me to it. But
28?
No, I'm talking about when I was younger, growing up. Yes, when I was 28, I think Dad can take me to... Please take me to the wrestling.
That's all you wanted for Christmas?
Yeah, at 28.
That and a Vince Devil doll?
Yeah, that's exactly... I wrote out my Christmas list in crayon and gave it to my dad. My dad's like, Jesus Christ, Kyle, you're 28.
Your beard's thicker than mine. What are you
just leaving a note on your sister's door, go, please give me Mercy the Bosom.
She's like, I'm 23, why can't you go buy this yourself?
Get a job.
Yeah. No, but I mean, growing up, when I was like 9, 10-ish, I know that they weren't like they were doing a bunch of tours, but it was always just that one. But I was in the Northeast, which was directly in their loop.
I imagine Syracuse had to have a
Syracuse would always get
Yeah.
Syracuse, Rochester. Even they'd come up and do a little bit in Watertown every once in a while.
Just like the little 1,200 seater where
they'd sometimes do like outdoor things and go to the single A minor league park. I know the Undertaker was there like in like '94 or something like that.
You think he remembers that? Whatever match it was.
No.
I think it probably helps if your parents are into it too, right? Like,
yeah,
my mum, like my cousin who's about 8 years older than me, was super into the wrestling. Like, super into, like, he was part of, like, the early 90s, the Hogan, like, the Mega Powers shit, all that sort of stuff. And my mum kind of got, like, familiar with it because, like, her and my aunt and all that sort of stuff were kind of just letting him watch it, and they were kind of just watching it with him. And then the Attitude Era hit, and she kind of got swept along with all of us. Because that was kind of the beauty of the Attitude Era, right? It like sucked in people that were never fans before.
That's true.
And like, The Rock comes out, and like me and my sister are watching it, and my mom's like, "It's actually really entertaining right now." Like, and then once the Attitude Era was over, like she went away, and the only thing she ever I always remember, I was watching it like 16 or whatever, and my mom came in the room and she goes, "Who's that? I like his thighs." It's Randy Orton. I was like, "Well, thanks, Mummy. It's my favourite wrestler and you've ruined it forever." Twat.
Now every time you see Randy Orton, that's all you can think of.
That's all I can think of. What banging thighs he's got.
Yeah, he's just staring at the thighs up on the Titantron. It's like, oh, man.
Did you see how much I was zooming in on Sunday?
You're right. You're right.
I think it depends on the parent, too, with like the wrestling thing. I was 11 when I went to a show, and my mom was supportive. She wasn't on board 100% with watching or anything like that, but she let us like what we wanted to like.
Right.
Minus South Park. That's the only thing she drew the line on. But Oprah got in her head because I think Oprah stated as much. But when I expressed that interest...
Great show too, South Park.
And part of the dark period was that my dad wouldn't let me really watch wrestling when I was still kind of trying to be into it in high school. He just ruined the whole bit. I knew it was fake. Just the constant reminder of like, it's fucking fake, right? So I'm just like, okay. And,
cool,
and that was it. And we were a two TV household. One was in his bedroom, one was in the living room. So if he didn't want it on, then it wasn't on. And that's probably what started the dark period, just moving back to Texas with my dad.
Sure.
But I think there's a way to overcorrect it. If my mom had been like so into it and pushed me towards it, that might be how you get guys like the dude that sat behind us.
Or you could have been the guy that dressed up like AJ Styles.
Mm.
Yeah, smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Smoking a Marlboro Red.
Gloves and everything.
Oh yeah, the gloves on, smoking a cigarette.
Had the best.
My parents were... I grew up in a conservative family, and so my parents were okay with me watching WCW, but you know how in the Attitude Era, Raw was a little more serious, and so I had to sneak that. I remember sitting in my room, and I would be watching Raw. I'd hear my parents come, I'd switch over to WCW, and then I'd go back and forth in the Attitude Era during the Monday Night War.
You were forced. Yeah, you were forced to.
So I had no one. I mean, I knew maybe like 2 or 3 wrestling fans I went to high school with, but like I was kind of in it on my own back in the day.
Sure.
And then after the Attitude Era, after everything kind of died down, I actually just went away from wrestling for about 10 years. And it probably contributed, and I went to college and all that sort of thing, so it was like, I just, had other interests at the time, but definitely didn't have the parents pushing me or even wanting to go with me to see shows. So Colin, like you, I didn't go to a show until I was probably close to 30 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was also that thing that like when I did, finally get money to go and watch shows by myself if I wanted to. I didn't have people around me to go with me, so I wasn't going to go by myself and be that dude.
Right. Well, I remember the first show I went to was here in Charlotte, and I was like begging, just like I was asking my brother, asking friends, I was like, someone go with me because I really want to go do this. And it was, it was cheap. It was, upper deck. Mm-hmm. But I finally got a friend to go with me, and, it was not what I expected whatsoever.
Because it was a house show, right? It would probably...
It was a Raw.
That's awesome.
It was a Raw, but I, for some reason, didn't, register that I wasn't going to be able to hear the announcers.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, so quiet. And when I was in the upper deck, now I've sat in the lower deck since then, but I was in the upper deck, and I was like, this is just so weird. Such a strange, I can't hear Michael Cole. Now I don't want to hear Michael Cole. So going to a live show was great, but yeah, it was a very odd experience.
I went to one Raw a couple of years ago, and I'd only ever done house shows before that. And that was the day that I was like, I will never go to another I will never go to another show again.
A televised show.
A televised show. I'll only do house shows. But I went on my own once. I won tickets to go see Ryback and Layla back when they were doing a tour in England. And I won 2 tickets and no bastard would come with me, but I'd be fucked if I'm not going to go and meet them. So I just went on my own, watched the show on my own, and I still had a great time. However, I did not scream incessantly.
Were you that guy?
Were you telling Ryback the beauty isn't everything?
I could have took a different path that day.
You complimented his thighs.
Josh just, feed me more, feed me more.
That was at his peak too. That was when he was super sky high.
Josh is marking out to Ryback right in front of him. Josh is just bringing him food. He's like, I'm trying to feed you.
Protein, you
get what you want.
Do we want to jump to current day wrestling and some discussion?
Sure.
Well,
okay.
Do we want to... Depends on what topics you had to bring to the table.
Yes. Alan has thoughts.
This is the Alan show.
Okay, I've got some concerns.
Ooh.
I don't know if it's so much concerns. If I could fix WWE, this is what I would do. I would take away half the pay-per-views.
Yes.
I think it's oversaturated with pay-per-views.
Agreed.
And I think there's not enough time to build storylines. And the whole reason we liked wrestling growing up, and the whole reason it was great, is because there were storylines that we cared about. There was WCW, there was NWO and Sting. That took a year.
Yeah.
Sting sat in the Raptors for a year before he did anything.
Poor fucker. And he was afraid of heights. No one considered his.
But
he never actually came down.
Right. People ate it up. They thought this is amazing. What's going to happen? And, Daniel Bryan, that storyline of him winning the title at WrestleMania, that took a year.
Yeah.
And so there's just no time anymore to build any good storylines that are worth anything. Mm-hmm. We just finished, y'all just went to Clash of Champions. The next night, they said Seth Rollins is going to face The Fiend at Hell in a Cell.
They called it before Clash of Champions.
That's 2 weeks.
Exactly. The got dibs on that winner.
Yeah.
Which is acceptable
I like that
sometimes, but you don't say at Hell in a Cell. Maybe you go, I want a shot at the champion, whoever wins.
Down the road. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you have a pay-per-view, when you have a pay-per-view every single month, that's what they're forced to do. They're forced to throw these championship matches together. They're forced to throw these feuds together that don't mean anything. So here's what I would do. I would keep the Big Four.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the Big Four? The traditional Big Four?
Yeah,
or the
Royal
real
Rumble,
Big Four?
WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series.
Okay.
Give me Money in the Bank, because it actually means something.
I think I would now say the modern day Big Four is Money in the Bank over Survivor Series.
Sure.
That's what I feel. That's just my personal opinion.
I probably get more excited now about Money in the Bank than I do Survivor Series.
If they did the brand split right, Survivor Series would be back.
Exactly.
When is it normally? November?
Yeah. Late November.
Next November, 2020 November, could be the best Survivor Series in 15 years.
Really?
With them doing the full split, going over to Fox.
Yeah. If they do it. Yeah, if they do it right.
And maybe maybe having a platform for NXT too.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. 3-way war games.
God damn.
Oh boy.
War Games Survivor Series.
3 rings?
Was it 2 that they did in NXT?
That is 2.
They did 2 rings with the cage around the whole
NXT
thing.
did 2 when they recently did it.
But it was 3 teams in there.
Yeah.
3 teams of 3? 3 teams.
Yeah, it's three teams of 3, but you could extend it now to 3 teams of 4.
Mm-hmm.
Put the entire Undisputed Era in there for NXT.
Yeah. So give me those 5, and then I don't care. Let's do one rotating one each year. And pick it. If you want to be Hell in a Cell, if you want to be Clash of Champions, whatever it is. But just spread them out. I mean, look how successful NXT takeovers are. It's because they're fewer and far between, and the matches actually mean something.
Yeah.
You have your Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa rivalry that's built for a year or more. You have matches that actually mean something because people actually care. And so WWE, in my opinion, needs to get back to storytelling. And until they do, the product's going to be saturated and not that great.
It's interesting, I think, too, with the fact that NXT's so successful and the storytelling's there, but they do it with that 1 hour window through the work rate of the workers. And I think that's what AEW is attempting to be, is the work rate show eventually.
Yeah.
Versus the sports entertainment show that Raw and SmackDown is. So I think,
although we have no idea now.
Yeah,
this is a whole new world we're about to step into.
Yeah.
True.
Especially because I wonder if they're going to try to do the same thing that NXT is going to be doing now that it is going to be head to head, or the same way that WWE or WWF and WCW were different. WCW felt more like a competition where WWE had the stories.
Right. I think that you're going to have NXT compete on the night for the work rate. And I think you're going to have SmackDown compete in the sporting arena stuff that they're trying to talk about doing in AEW.
And then Raw be your...
And Raw is just going to be its own enigma. That's going to be where the Fiend art is. That's going to be where the New Day is. That's going to be where that slightly more campy shit is.
I kind of like that.
I don't hate it.
Because Lucha Underground was so great because it was so different from other things. And if you have the 3...
Alan, did you ever watch Lucha Underground?
I have not.
Is it still on Netflix?
It is on Netflix.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
I think it's a at least the first season. It's a must watch.
They turned wrestling into like a telenovela. It's wonderful, and it's like a season. It's like 22 episodes, and they have wrestlers on there. They have matches, but then they have these ridiculous storylines going on with cut scenes and everything like that. It's wonderful.
All the cut scenes are shot like a movie because it's a Robert Rodriguez thing, wasn't it? I think Robert Rodriguez had a hand in it.
Yeah,
I think it was him.
And it's reputable people in there. Like,
you have a lot of names you recognize. Like you have Prince Puma in there,
which is Ricochet,
okay.
Johnny Mundo,
which is John Morrison,
or whatever.
Oh yeah,
these days.
Chavo
Guerrero Jr.
Oh, Chavo's still wrestling.
Yeah.
Chavo Guerrero had something. I think he got hurt in the first season, though. And it might have been storyline or whatever, but he's only in it for a little bit.
Then, like, Pentagon Jr.
Oh, yeah.
Is in there. Yeah. There's some reputable people in there, and it's really fun.
Is it a traveling show, or do they do it in one place?
No, it's all in one spot. It's
okay.
one place in LA.
Yeah.
And it's
a lot of
super fun. It's so ridiculous.
And Matt Stryker's calling it, and he's good shit.
Oh, Matt Stryker and Vampiro. Yeah.
So do you think, when you're talking about, that 6 rotating pay-per-view, you brought up Hell in a Cell, and that's the pay-per-view that's coming up. How do you feel, because you can't apply it to all, I think Money in the Bank should be its own pay-per-view, but having something like Hell in a Cell that was special, that was a kind of that trump card at the end of a really...
It was a blow-off match for...
Yeah, it was a blow-off, exactly, for a big feud.
Yeah.
But now it's a given every year. For me, if they never did a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view again, and instead they just used that match appropriately.
I agree. Yep.
Instead of shooting that bullet off on the hour every hour for them, just have it so it's used once, maybe twice.
Absolutely. When you had Shane McMahon and The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania a few years ago, that was special. And so... You're right. I mean, every year they do it, and it doesn't even seem special anymore.
Yeah, but when it was Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal, it's not as special.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I feel like the Sasha Becky storyline, especially after we got Clash of Champions, that match is set perfectly to be put into a Hell in a Cell.
Right.
Because they went everywhere and they beat the hell out of each other.
That's because Jinder Mahal should have been a Punjabi prison match, to be fair.
They did both.
That's true.
Didn't they do both?
They did do it, yes. They did that match. It was like bamboo.
Oh yeah,
It was the Great Khali who did it first. Remember?
yeah.
And Great Khali came out for
Was
that.
it Batista?
Yeah, Khali came out during that match.
Yeah, he.
So who said bamboo gets on a plane immediately? It's actually just a giant panda.
He smells bamboo cages and he starts.
That's why you can't understand fuck all he says.
What if instead of doing that Hell in a Cell match between Sasha and Becky in a month from now,
Yeah,
they did it at Survivor Series in November and they gave it a legit build-up?
yeah.
You know, it would mean even more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're right. Like, they've got something going, but it's going to be, over in a month and we're going to be like, okay.
Yeah.
that's cool.
Like, honestly, they could have done something with Randy and Kofi to have them still continue, and that third match would have been perfect for a Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
But they can't do that now because now we know that Brock Lesnar is going to be having a title match 2 nights before Hell in a Cell to get to steal it from Kofi.
And it has a trickle-down effect on what happens on Monday and on SmackDown, which, coming on Friday, because, like, they're building these pay-per-views for every single month. And so, there's always people, wrestlers, mid-card guys who are upset because they're not on enough. Or fans are mad because they're not seeing some of their favorite wrestlers wrestle because Shane McMahon's taking up all the airtime, or Roman Reigns is taking up all the airtime, or Seth Rollins. It's because they have to build these storylines because they don't have any time to actually build it.
And they're selling the tickets, and you can't give Kurt Hawkins enough airtime in the first week to also sell tickets.
Right.
You have to make that a year storyline,
Mm-hmm.
but you just never started, and it's never becomes.
And especially with the wild card, now you're getting people from both shows because they're trying to cram as much story as
They've
possible.
officially ended that.
I have.
They are,
yeah,
yes.
I'm so
With
excited.
the new brand split, they are 100% ending it. That is not a thing anymore.
I still don't believe that Roman Reigns isn't going to somehow show up on both shows, but we'll see.
I think that they're going to stick him on SmackDown, and I think that's going to be the flagship show now.
You think Fox paid more money and they're getting Roman Reigns?
They're getting Roman Reigns, they're getting Brock Lesnar. I wouldn't be surprised if Ronda Rousey comes back because they want to make it more of a sporting, serious, like actual. I mean, the draft that they're going to be doing is going to be very, very much like a little bit like they did the last time they did that draft, where it has a ticker at the bottom and they're talking about it. They're going to be doing an FS1 show with Renee Young hosting it to be kind of like a recap show, almost like a sports center for it.
Okay. Yeah.
Raw is still the flagship show right now. Like, they're not just going to surely offload all... Because if you think, on the women's side, right? Surely they're not just going to allow Ronda, Charlotte, and Becky all to piss off to SmackDown.
Charlotte's on Fox for sure, because they have her doing the promotional stuff now.
I mean, Becky's the face of WWE 2K20, and she's the champ still, and she had
she's my opinion,
she had the best match of the night on Sunday.
So it's hard to see what you're saying. It's hard to see certain people not being on the show that they want to promote the most, which is going to be SmackDown.
Yeah, but if you do, the other one is going to be significant.
I think that they're going to split it pretty well. I feel like Becky's going to stay on Raw.
You think?
Yeah, well, she's got the championship.
That can change.
Yeah, well, that can. But
Look at poor Kofi.
But I think it's also. But we should also be. If we had total faith, which we all obviously don't, because you can't, but with just the history, right?
Yeah.
You've learned that you get scorned enough, but we should be excited for the fact that hard split will force them to make people.
Yeah.
To make it so when it's only Sasha and Becky on Monday, to make something out of even just marginally better for the Dana Brooks or the Riot Squads or the... What are you laughing at?
We had a conversation today, and we were trying to figure out
the draft
that we're thinking about doing. And we were trying to figure out your totally out of left field pick. I go, oh, you know what? He loves Dana Brooke.
I do.
First woman off of your club outside of the obvious main event is just Dana Brooke.
Well, and I use her as an example mostly because instead of someone like Natalya, because they've done it with Natalya over and over again, and it just doesn't work. And they've booked Dana in NXT really well. And they busted it when she got up to the main roster as Charlotte's assistant. And there's been 2 or 3 spots.
Emma's assistant for a week. I remember.
Oh, yeah.
And NXT, that's what her whole gimmick was. ended up being the gimmick after Asuka hurt her on her debut match.
She was the assistant for Titus Worldwide, wasn't she?
She was.
And she got that. Titus Worldwide got over.
Right.
Big time.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
She wasn't the only reason, but
because Titus is a giant clown.
Yeah.
He's incredibly fun to watch.
But
he hurts everybody.
But yeah, anyway, so elevating, we should be excited that it's going to elevate the Dana's, Ruby's,
Ember Moon, get her back into it.
World.
Asuka, see if we can get her back in. Kairi Sane, still there.
And anybody else you want to kind of bring in. But also for the men's side, the same bit.
Yeah.
Rusev or Cesaro.
Well, he's got a baby to worry about, so
Oh,
we might not be seeing him.
Mike Kanellis needs his...
Cesaro's just wrestling in capris now? Is that what I saw this past
Yeah, he's got some...
this past week?
He's got some nice pants going on.
At least they're trying to let him talk, man.
Yeah.
Actually, thinking about last night with NXT being on USA, they obviously had the number one contendership match for the women's championship down there. Candice LeRae won. That match is set for 2 weeks from now. Do they pull the trigger, get the title off Shayna right before it starts on Fox?
And then bring Shayna up?
It makes total sense, right? She fills the Ronda Rousey void.
And she's been overdue for that call for a year and a half. It interests me a little bit, though, because I don't think the call-up system is not going to operate the way it used to, for obvious reasons.
The entire roster got called up yesterday. Essentially.
Yeah,
right?
I wonder, are they
that
not
was
going to
their
have
call-up.
call-ups?
Right, no, yeah.
So,
I'm sorry. I was like, did I miss the news? And I was
Johnny Gargano said something about it. He was like, we've made it. We're not worried about call-ups anymore.
There's going to have to be some... I don't know how they're going to do that. NXT is going to be the third brand. And honestly,
it's going to be the one that people want to be on because A, it's going to be 2 hours. B, they can live in Tampa or live in Orlando and not go anywhere.
Yeah.
NXT might rule the television waves in 12 hours.
I think it's a possibility.
I think if I
they
had
don't
to
lose sight.
if I had to purely guess, I don't know if they dominate the ratings and everything like that, but I can almost I'd put them as the leader of the show that we like the most in a year.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. They're almost definitely going to be the best wrestling show to start out with, right? And with that, the casuals will come
because now it's on USA.
Not only if it's the best wrestling show, time is going to make it the most popular show. If it doesn't lose sight of what it is that makes it so good, I think it's probably going to be the brand in 12 months' time.
The only worry I have, sorry, Alan. The only worry I have about NXT is that now that they are live, that for that first year, they're rehashing stuff that we've seen, but not necessarily the general public or casual has seen.
Oh, yeah.
So it won't be uninteresting, but I wouldn't be surprised if
Gargano
Ciampa is right. They rehashed it. Not unlike they kept it on the main roster. They did with Sammy and KO three times since they've been with WWE.
Honestly, though, I could watch another 3 Gargano.
They're the exception,
and
right?
Never get bored.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, though. They might just rehash those things because they were popular.
Right.
I was wondering, Kyle, to your point, if guys need a break. I know Finn Balor's on break right now.
Mm-hmm.
They could send them down. Not down. It's really not down. They can send them to NXT and say, okay, you don't have to travel for the next 3 months. Go down there and be on that show for a little while.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fine.
I love it.
I think that
really plays into what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, where we talked about the possibility of an off-season.
Oh, yeah.
And that would be another alternative to the possibility of an off-season.
Yeah.
Giving them somewhere static in NXT to stay.
I love that they're sending guys down like Fandango and
Breeze.
100%.
Breeze. They actually have a chance now.
Yeah, Killian Dane, guys that didn't get a fair shake. Alexander Wolf, the dude with NXT UK that's in Walter's group now.
The Imperium.
But after
Great
the
name.
Imperium, it really is. So after Sanity flopped, and no fault of his own, just
no fault of Sanity's own. Just never put him on TV.
Yeah,
right?
They screwed the whole thing up.
Right, because there's no time.
But it's nice.
They didn't even bring Nikki Cross up with them too.
But it's nice now that you know that if they do call somebody up, that was over in NXT, and if they do decide to put them on SmackDown or on Raw, and if it just doesn't work, they now have an outlet. They can send them back to AAA. Yeah. And maybe they're just going to be the 35-year-old pitcher at AAA that doesn't have it within the bigs, but can help teach and train those below them.
But I can't even think about it as AAA anymore, because I feel like people aren't going to be like screaming to go to Raw and SmackDown now. They're going to want to stay on NXT because they're getting the TV time now. They're getting the ability to stay in one spot. It's not as strenuous of a show. It's only 2 hours, and I also think it was incredibly smart for them to put NXT in the slot going head to head with AEW.
And not SmackDown?
Yeah, because I feel like people will be more apt to watch NXT as far as the people that would want to watch AEW.
Yes, the fans that are watching AEW are more. Yeah, you're right, and so that's what I mean. That was smart,
incredibly smart.
I mean, that's why I think it. If anything, it's them catching the wave that AEW, as small as it might be, but it gives them a head start over the already head start they had with them being on the network for so long. If it was a brand new promotion, it's a little bit. It looks like, man, okay, that's a ballsy move to try to go head to head, but it's already a proven product. Yeah. It's already got a guaranteed audience, and now you get to rise with AEW essentially in terms of just that night or that time slot and the anticipation for it.
And I also think that one thing that we're going to see from watching it last night is that they put a number one contendership match for the Cruiserweight title on NXT last night.
Maybe 205?
205 Live, NXT. Gone. Making that a title for NXT.
They deserve a better platform.
Well, pretty much everybody in NXT has 205 or less anyway. So.
Yeah, seriously.
And the thing is, as well, is that they're going to they need to fill 2 hours every week, right? Like, if you're adding the entire 205 live roster, like, your 2 hours suddenly becomes filled very easily by incredibly talented.
And I wouldn't mind it. Like, you remember WCW days, like, the first hour was always, like, Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio matches, things like that, Chavo Guerrero. So, like, that was... that's their time to shine, and then the big guys would come on.
Well, and you get guys, and Lars Sullivan pops to mind as someone who is big, looks like a monster, but isn't 6'5". So when they stand eye to eye with Roman, it's a little bit different than when like Big Show would stand a foot taller than Roman or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
When you have NXT as a lighter in weight brand, then you can have Ciampa, who's 5'11" or 6 foot and 230, look like a really small person to someone that's not necessarily a giant, but is just bigger.
Like 6'4", maybe.
It's why Walter looks so impressive.
Exactly.
Walter looks huge, and I don't think he's specifically any taller than a Seth Rollins or
but him going up against Kushida last
or
night.
Pete Dunne. Yeah, like it does a lot for the storytelling in itself, just the stature of the wrestlers.
Yeah. I also do think it's kind of turning into an NXT review for me, but we saw the first shots fired last night in the War because coming out of the so they went into the second commercial break after the women's number one contender match, and the second commercial that was on was an AEW promo on USA.
Really?
Yeah.
I missed last night.
Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently they had they bought the advertising from it was DirecTV and Spectrum.
Yeah, I think it was your traditional providers because
it was your cable providers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they bought time on during NXT, which is going to be the one that goes up head to head with them.
That's pretty cool.
It felt like a shot fired at that point, and that kind of makes me excited for what we're about to step into.
Kind of feels real.
Are you guys excited about AEW?
Yeah, yes. I'm gonna record it. I will, depending on what I want to watch, if it's going to be NXT or AEW, maybe it'll feel like the late '90s where I'm just flipping back and forth between two.
I am, but the biggest pause I have is, and it's not AEW's fault, but there's so much fucking wrestling to watch.
Yeah. I don't know if I have the bandwidth.
I watched Raw and SmackDown in an hour and a half. I forwarded through a lot of shit. And I like the wrestling part. Storylines can come and go, but I'm a wrestling like Mark when it comes to the work rate stuff, and I can't even enjoy a fucking potential for Mysterio Cesaro match, which should be a lot of fun because I'm just like, fuck, it's alright. I know it's going to be meaningless. Let's get through it.
You could barely even watch the Gable Corbin match.
I watched
King of the Ring final.
Yeah, it ended up being a fucking 30-minute match, and I watched the last 5 minutes of it because I also know by forwarding, I knew who was going to win, so it kind of cool. I mean,
well, when you've got me over here telling you exactly who's going to win,
I would have guessed Corbin anyways, but it was Tuesday. I knew who won. I
told you before the tournament even started. Baron Corbin was winning that tournament.
Yeah,
that is the one claim to fame I have this year.
Good for you.
I nailed that King of the Ring.
I'm proud of you.
Before the match was even before the
tournament bracket was put out there.
Before the bracket was even announced.
You didn't even know he was in it. Oh, that's no.
But it really was a no-brainer when you consider how it
too. Have you noticed that? Like,
it's because he's good.
End of Days, outside of the RKO, I think End of Days is maybe the best finisher in wrestling.
End of Days is fun. Deep Six.
The Deep Six I like even more.
Deep Six is great because it works on pretty much everybody, and the way he hits it sometimes when
it just looks so violent because everybody's coming off the ropes so fast.
And it was so badass when he did it on Becky a few pay-per-views ago.
Oh yeah,
that was awesome.
Such a heat magnet right there.
So, what other concerns do you have?
That's the big one. I just it's too much. It's oversaturated, and there's not enough time to build stories. And I think another one too, and I think this is why the Fiend is getting over, is because he's actually a character. All these guys, yes, they're great wrestlers that we have now, but there's no characters. Just a guy. Mm-hmm. Roman's a guy. There's nothing to invest in as far as them and their character.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to see somebody like, Bray Wyatt get a new character and actually they're investing into that character.
That's an actual character and not just a lad.
Yeah. Like Velveteen Dream. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Great character.
Before he did that, he was nothing. He was in NXT, he was a jobber. He came up with the character and it took him to the top.
I mean, even Rusev.
Yeah.
His character is still just being Rusev, but the Bulgarian brute bit coming in on a tank, his matchka shit, his theme music was boss. Yeah. Even just that is enough.
Right.
But the problem with the people that you're talking about, Reigns is still living in the shadow of the Shield because he still has the damn music.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Seth Rollins is just... You never know what Seth Rollins is supposed to really be.
Yeah.
How can he be the face of the company when he's still doing the same things heel Seth was doing? Which is really weird. I get having a grey area, but you want him to be your babyface, even though you insist there's no face or heel. But you're going to have him do clearly heel things and be this is the grey area. Ooh. So it's not, because you clearly want him to be your face.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I don't think that the heel and face thing bothers me as much anymore. If only because it's still, when you see Bayley turn heel, it's still effective. You can still see it, but it doesn't necessarily mean, and she's a good example by accident that I stumbled into because she still thinks she's a face.
And she's still coming in hugging kids.
Right,
but that is a great bit.
And it's
because it's very
And
it's delirious.
And so I don't know if I'd rather have when Seth is a heel, he wrestle less exciting. Because that's the hardest part when he was a heel before, was that his moveset was determined to be a face moveset. He wasn't doing rest holds and doing all that other shit. The heel face thing doesn't bother me. I wish that wrestlers' prerogative and what's driving them was highlighted more. If they're not going to be a character. And it can't always just be you know what? Yeah, I want to be. I'm here in NXT. Of course, I want to be the NXT champion. I've been dreaming about it my whole life. The generic. I want to be the champion gimmick. What drives you? Is it because you want the best competition? That AOP. That AOP promo is a good example. They wanted to come somewhere that would have let them fight, and no one wants to fight them. that's something that drives them or drives you. Roman doesn't have, and the kayfabe thing also eliminates from some of this, and I'm blurring the point I'm trying to make, but like that Kanellis thing, it's a dumb cuck storyline.
Corey Graves called him a cuck.
And then Cole called him a loser.
Well, so you have, but besides that, because kayfabe's not a thing anymore, when they announced that it was going to be Rusev, besides the fact that it would be unbelievable anyways, but if they did in the Attitude Era, you don't know because Rusev's a character. But he's not, because he doesn't have a drive or he doesn't have a prerogative, whether, and
his life's on Instagram, you see
his life's on Instagram, and he's with Lannis, it's not true. Like, it's
yeah.
Right, so putting that aside, if you're going to have the real aspect of it, then do the other side. The other side of that coin is, you're real people, you're not a character, but you've got to have a characteristic or a trait that can be highlighted and used, whether it be face or heel.
Or amped up.
Right. And I think
Charlotte's
a great example.
She's a person. We know that she's a legacy, and she just amps up her being a giant, bitch. And
egomaniac.
Like her father.
Right, and it's easy. It's the oldest phrase used to hear was, we just let people be themselves, but turn it to 11.
Mm-hmm.
And Enzo was one of the shining examples of how good that can be from an entertainment perspective.
Yeah. God, man, when Enzo and Cass were hot,
there was nothing hot.
Yeah,
they were. It was.
I was at a show in Charlotte, screaming the whole intro when they were.
I would have been doing.
I was the guy behind you all screaming.
But he can be that, and Rhonda can be, I just like to fight, and you don't have to let her talk, but they do.
Rhonda is a special case, that given that she is a UFC fighter, right? Her reputation precedes her. She has a character built out already.
Brock Lesnar.
You know, they did it really well with at the end before she stopped, before she got let go or whatever, was Eva Marie. And they were just like, cool, her character is that she doesn't give a fuck about wrestling.
It was one of my favorite bits of SmackDown.
Was the entrance.
Was her coming out and walking back in.
Eva Marie cannot attend because she's at a photo shoot. Yeah, it was great.
They tried to do that with Lacey Evans.
And
yeah.
Where did she go? She's
buying hats.
She's buying hats. She's
been called back up to surf.
She had a match this past week with Dana Brooke, and it was the cool-down match before the main event.
Wow.
It's just, they hot-shotted her.
Dana was on TV. I'm supposed to have skipped over. That's a bummer.
I missed that. I literally thought,
son of a bitch.
Yeah, she had a good match for her last pay-per-view. It was like, okay, yeah, I can get behind this, but yeah.
They hot-shotted her.
Good. And when she was in NXT, she was a lot of fun to watch wrestle. And her gimmick was that she was better than the other ladies because they were classless. And they've turned it somehow into her wearing hats and being the Southern Belle. And Southern Belles don't fight. So the sassy Southern Belle.
Thank you.
So why? Right.
Get it right.
So she's a sassy Southern Belle, but everything else in the character is the same as it was before, which is a good character or a good mold.
She's a sassy Southern Belle.
And they're not contributing to one another.
They haven't translated the depth over.
Yeah.
Which is the problem of almost 99% of NXT people moving over. Where the fuck is Aleister Black?
Yeah.
He's still waiting for somebody to pick up
Lars Sullivan.
Cool. Him and Authors of Pain are in two separate rooms just waiting on chairs.
They keep thinking the door's knocking, but it's their chairs to the back of the wall that keep accidentally hitting it when they're getting up for water.
It's just Bray trying to get into the fun house every week.
And then all of a sudden Stardust is in the other room just doing his own bit too.
I personally, I loved the Robert Roode thing. Like, when he came out with the mustache and they started calling him Robert Roode, I was like, okay, I can get behind this. And then a month later, he was back to Bobby Roode, and he had a beard again. I'm like,
glorious Bobby Roode doing this.
I mean, last night at Clash, they introduced him as Robert Roode, and he did none of the Robert Roode bit. And he doesn't even have just a mustache anymore.
Right, I thought he was going to be...
I thought he was going to be a Rick Rude callback.
I was like, okay, this is cool.
The mustache? Oh, yeah. It fit perfectly with him.
Yeah.
What do you think... What would AEW need to do for you to have that take priority over any WWE property. In let's say you have 5 hours to watch wrestling every week.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be 11 now, I think.
Great.
So
is SmackDown going to be 3 hours?
I think it's still 2 right
2.
now, but they were rumored to 3, I guess, Fox was.
Okay, and AEW is going to be 2?
AEW's 2, and
NXT's 2, so that's...
246 plus
3.
3. Okay,
so 9.
So 9. I kind of draw as 5 because I'm thinking of the paper.
Are they always going to split NXT like they did last night?
No.
Okay.
No,
They're doing that right now.
Okay.
They're doing that right now because Suits is finishing their entire series.
Suits take
Because I didn't forget it was on, but I had a friend over who's not into wrestling, and I was like, I turned it over at like 8:55. I was like, I might catch the last hour, and it was like 5 minutes left. I was like,
so they're going fully onto USA the week AEW debuts.
Okay, of course, yeah.
I didn't realize it was because Suits finishing forever. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I just didn't know
series
Suits.
finale. I think that they kind of bumped it up just so they could start to get a foothold on Wednesday night.
To be seen.
Yeah, to
I mean, it
combat
makes sense.
AEW.
Yeah.
Plus, it may have just been in the contract that it fell perfect on that day. Like, they either said you can do it this day or you can do it this day, and it was 3 weeks after.
It also,
and then they wouldn't have wanted to do that.
And if it is Suits series from finale, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it also might be their chance if they think that whatever's leading up to Suits can draw some of those numbers over to help Suits.
If you can
pop.
catch or the other way around.
Yeah.
You're tuning into Suits and you're going to watch the last 15 minutes of NXT, which is almost definitely
instead of NCIS or whatever.
Yeah.
The shit would be.
And now they've already set up, and it's also good setting up matches that you can bank on for the night that AEW comes in, because now they've already got the women's title match the night that AEW comes on.
It's almost going to be a lot of top class level pay-per-views. Like pay-per-views where they really care. Like AEW's first show is effectively going to be a pay-per-view with the amount of effort they're going to throw in it. NXT is going to be the same. Friday night is going to be the draft. They're going to go all out on that, and I can only imagine the balls to the wall they're going to do on the Hell in a Cell post-show on Raw. Like,
is it Hell in a
especially
Cell
if the Fiend
after the
wins.
draft?
No, Hell in a Cell. Yeah, Hell in a Cell is after the draft. That makes total sense.
2 days after?
No, it's not. Hell in a Cell is on the 6th.
Oh, so Hell in a Cell is the week before the draft.
Hell in a
Give me the dates.
So, Friday the 4th.
First
October, SmackDown, Fox, debut.
Okay.
Kofi versus Lesnar.
October the 6th, Hell in a Cell, pay-per-view. Monday night, Raw. Wednesday night, NXT and AEW.
For the first week.
Both
for both
debut
being
in
at the same
full.
time.
Yeah, in full. Friday night, draft.
Second half of draft on Monday. The following Monday.
Oh.
Yes.
3-day event. The draft's going to be a 3-day event?
2.
Oh, 2 day. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Friday and Monday. Sorry.
14th, yeah.
Okay.
Fuck.
So that week, like, I think you're being stupid to lose any of that week. I think you're going to have to watch it sub out.
Our wives are going to hate us.
Oh, yeah.
Barring, obviously, you'll be able to skip the Dana Brooke matches.
This
because
is the
who gives a
brilliant
shit
part of
about Dana
starting.
Brooke?
This is why we started a podcast, because, like, listen, babe, I've got to watch
Right.
wrestling so we can.
I told her that on Sunday
was
night.
like,
I was like, I
stop
have to
that.
watch this. The guys, they want me to be on the podcast.
Yeah, as soon as we start listening to a college football podcast, it's like, listen, I gotta do it.
It's research.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like an idiot. Do we sound like an idiot to the public? This publicly available podcast?
Well, to answer your question, what does AEW need to do? They're going to have 2. I will give them 3 months. They've got 3 months to win me over, and I think if it feels genuine like NXT feels to me, then it can win me over. Like I don't know exactly.
What's a deal breaker for you? Because I've got one in mind, and I kind of want to go around the room. What would AEW need to do where you're just like, cool, it's
I'm
4th on my list?
In the camp with him, though. I think they've got until the Royal Rumble to solidify me.
Yeah.
Because then the road to WrestleMania starts, and my routine is going to be so ingrained that I'm not going to change it unless there's something really worth changing.
You come out of hibernation. Everybody comes out of hibernation for the road to WrestleMania, and
Deal breaker. That's a good question.
If anyone's got one, feel free to mention it, because I don't want to
Really poor production value.
Yeah.
just look like the Ring of Honor shows. Have
Look
you
like
watched
it,
the Ring of
yeah.
Honor? Because they look awful.
Look like Ring of Honor
Or
shows, like
Impact or
the early TNA shows,
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. I'll turn off real quick because it just feels like I'm watching trash TV.
Where they've got the TV stands like we use in this office that are on wheels that are on the stage to show the entrance video. Like, that's what.
And to be honest, yeah, they got VHSs.
Yeah.
Like
DDP's back there switching over VCRs for the next entrance.
Scoring adverts for his yoga on every 10 minutes.
It's just a tube TV. It's just
it's not even. No, it's the old projector ones that were like 50 or 60 inches, but they were.
They've got it on a.
But if you didn't view it straight ahead, it was basically just a shadow.
They've got it on a cart out in front.
I'll be honest, I don't think that they will do that. Like, all of their shows so far, like, they're all in and all out and shake it all about. Like, they've looked good enough for me to watch.
And the only bad part about any of their production at this point has been, it feels like practice would make that perfect.
Yes.
Where they're just throwing the Throne graphic, that happens to WWE now, but where they just don't have the camera angles, or that fucking Battle Royal they did from 2 pay-per-views ago where there's like 4 high spots they totally missed because they didn't have the beats, and all of a sudden Joey Janela has a fucking cigarette stapled to his forehead. You know, you're just like, I don't know what happened.
Because at Clash, you had a 4-hour show and you had 2 missed spots. You can't, and that was shocking. Like, holy shit, WWE missed a clear spot. Like, you can't have that 3 times a week on an AEW 2-hour show. Because if you do, even then it's going to start annoying me.
Yeah.
Because, it's going to feel cheap. And I know that's super shallow to be the big reason, but if it's poor, but I'm spoiled with the Hollywood level production value that WWE provide these days. Like, it is as world class as it gets.
Yeah.
So I'm spoiled by it,
and seeing it in person, it reminds you. It reminds you just how much they put into production value for the lighting, for all of it. It's top notch.
They're going to have to also build these characters for those of us who haven't followed these guys on the indie scene. Mm-hmm. We know about Cody, we know about Omega, and we know about Jericho, but you got to tell me who these guys are and make me care about them.
Why is Phoenix and Pentagon special?
Right.
Why are the Young Bucks special?
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
heard their name.
I mean, it's great that they can do these awesome spots in wrestling, right? But they've got to make me care about these characters. And then another thing that I don't love, and I've seen a lot of it on AEW, and NXT even does it to some extent, is the false finishes are kind of annoying. So
consistent false finishes.
You shouldn't have to do 4 of your finishers in the match. It's cool, but all you're doing is you're trying to build excitement in the arena.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've got to be very
watered down.
Finishers
at that point.
They've got to be great matches. You can get away with it in Gargano, Ciampa. You can get away with it when it was 2 out of 3 falls with Cole. But you can't do that in every single match.
It falls into the same category as Hell in a Cell for me. Let it go. As the rivalry, as the feud goes on, allow that to happen more, because it also makes sense from that perspective.
Now you're ready for it.
Right,
Let it
exactly.
be organic,
Right,
let everything be a bit more organic.
Right, but when it's, and I didn't watch the match, so I don't know how many there were, but I imagine in Gable and Corbin there were probably a lot of false finishes because it was a big kind of pinnacle, but it wasn't a feud. If anything, it should have been take out false finishes, and it was finisher attempts that were false, right? And maybe there's
that were reversed,
reversed, or that well scouted, or whatever, right? Or missed, or they didn't get all of it, or whatever it is. Because it's a bummer when you see the RKO. The RKO, I guess, is pretty protected, but
the RKO is probably one of the most protected moves in the last 5 years.
Kofi did get out,
but when you have to do 4 curb stomps, to Braun,
right, and Brock.
And they only did it for Braun, I think, because they want to make sure that he doesn't look weak, right?
Yeah.
Compared
I think
to
it
Braun.
might. I think it might. Do you know why? Bold prediction again from Mr. Baron Corbin, the predictor of the King of the Ring. I think they're doing that to make him look that strong, because when Kofi loses, Braun's going for Brock.
I'd be here for that.
And they're gonna put it as it took Seth more to take me out than it did you.
Move Braun over to SmackDown. He hasn't been there yet. And
That's my bold prediction.
Kyle, what would be a deal breaker for you for AEW?
Well, it kind of piggybacks off of Alan. I guess that the thing that would sell me on it, so the first couple pay-per-views that they've had, it's just been matches because there hasn't been a chance to build a story. To get me to switch over and become just a hardcore P1 of AEW, I need one story that grabs me. Yeah. I need a story WCW brought in Scott Hall and they started the NWO arc. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you're thinking, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? That's something that I need to really make me jump on the flip side of that, for it to be something that is a deal breaker. Contrived writing where I just don't care about anything, and it just feels like they're having matches for matches' sake, and
like half the WWE.
Yeah, because
which is why you skip through. You do an hour and 10 minutes of 2 shows.
It's what's happening now.
It's Cedric against.
If I wanted to watch that, I'll watch it on WWE.
Well, and there's
with people I know.
And there's the fine line, like anything, but with like Cameron Grimes squashing that Sean Maluta on NXT,
mm-hmm.
you understand why that's there.
Yeah,
and like when Braun, when Braun was like squashing the Ellsworths of the world, which I'm excited for him to be. He's back with NXT.
Ellsworth is back.
You really almost get
Kyle, look at
he's a defeat on my face.
I think just skipping off that, I'm just going to go with my deal breaker because I've had it stored up here. It's been charging. My deal breaker for AEW will be if they have a fucking authority figure on that show that's anything more than what William Regal is for NXT right now. If they play at all into Cody Rhodes owns the business and he's manipulating shit here and there and he's essentially the authority figure, I'm so fucking done with that. That's the shit that I hate with WWE.
I think he's too young. I don't think it'll be him.
I hope there's none.
Maybe they'll say Shad Khan's or Tony Khan's uncle is the Iron Sheik and they'll bring him in.
If the Iron Sheik was the authority figure, that's the exact opposite. I would be all in
because you know that he's not gonna follow script. He's just gonna say a bunch of wheels off shit.
Yeah, the authority figure, and I guess what would stem from that is because then when you set that as your main antagonist, then almost every other feud somehow comes or filters from it, and that sucks. It sucks.
Would Dixie Carter make you change your mind?
No, I didn't want to. No. The best thing that came out of Dixie Carter was an EC3, the character for EC3.
I agree.
Like
I was thinking of authority figures that could be brought in, and she was one of the ones that came to mind.
So help me God if they bring in Jeff Jarrett and like he's the fucking authority figure.
I don't think they're. I think I think if they're going for that sports approach, right? Like, and they're going to wins and losses matter, they're going to struggle to make an authority figure work at least for the opening 6 months because it goes against the entire win-loss record mattering. Like, because if you want to promote yourself as wins and losses are the big deal, it's like a sporting thing, like you have a power rankings, like boxing, UFC, like you are the 3rd rated heavyweight in the world, you're due as a mandatory next. Like, if they want to go that route with it, you can't have an authority figure going, nah, and just changing everything because you can't take it seriously then. Like, people are like, well, this is absolute bollocks. Like, I feel like we're safe for a little bit from an authority figure, so I think you'll be okay.
Because even on a real sport, like Dana White, that shit, like his whole shtick and everything, and how involved he is in every press conference and the making of the matches and shit drives me nuts.
Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, every boxing promoter that speaks at a match gets booed out the building because this is it's a universal thing. People don't like the snakes making the money behind the fighters.
Yeah, Roger Goodell goes up and announces that the draft has started and everybody...
Or Bud Selig, the last time he spoke in person and the amount of booze he got. Like, it was... I think there's an easy way to have someone that's in charge or someone that's going to be in charge of making matches, and the only slight they should ever have is overlooking somebody, and then that person goes, hey, why wasn't I picked? And they go, okay, cool. You'll get picked, prove it in a match. You got to beat somebody. And it not being like, but you've got to beat the biggest, baddest, it's just fucking...
We're going to put you in a Dungeons of Doom match.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fine. You'll get a championship opportunity, no problem, but you've got to win this barbed wire on a pole match against some fucking John Moxley. Against Judy Bagwell.
I mean, William Regal is like the perfect GM.
He is.
he keeps his nose out of everything until it gets insane out there, and then he has to run out there, and he looks all angry and furious.
He's a parent.
Yeah.
He's the parent of the promotion, not the authority.
Yeah.
So he lets his kids express themselves, but he's there in case they get in trouble to rein things in.
And he also makes it very clear, every now and again, they do make it very clear that he could still call someone an issue. When he had the brass knuckles.
Yeah, when he was on the slide. Yeah,
like that sort of thing is like, he's still just reminding you that, like, he was a hard nut in his day too. And like,
he was a king of the ring.
He was a king of the ring. He was a legitimate hard bastard in real life.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a chance that he gets knighted?
No.
Ever?
No.
Not even in kayfabe?
They're Olympic gold medalists not getting knighted.
Yeah, but there's actors that Patrick Stewart, didn't he get knighted? Or Ian McKellen?
Sorry,
Ian McKellen?
Oh God.
Hey.
Not Patrick Stewart.
I love William Regal. He's not Sir Ian McKellen.
He is the Ian McKellen of wrestling. I don't know how his last name is. McKellen?
Yes.
He may win an OBE. That's what I reckon he may have. An OBE, which is like a Order of the British Empire. You get recognised for it if you do something.
Order of the British Empire.
You do something if you're recognised for something. Sciences, entertainment, stuff like that. That's what McKellen probably got originally.
We got 10 minutes here. I'm just going to announce it since I know not everybody's looked.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that will make me buy in. Storylines that matter that don't revolve around a title. That's my big buy-in. Yeah. And that's my biggest...
Monkey's paw curls and it's all, I've slept with your husband. It's all going to be the Canellis feud.
It's just all of them.
It's just a big cut promotion.
That's my biggest beef with the women's division in WWE.
They don't do anything.
You can't have every storyline is based around a title.
Yeah.
And when you finally have a storyline that isn't based around a title, you get the biggest hype you've had in years. Ronda and Becky.
Yep.
Because it was a personal rivalry that Becky didn't care about the title. She wanted to beat up Ronda Rousey.
And they still made it about the title.
They did end up making it about the title, but the fact is, like, they finally made one that didn't have the title as its centerpiece, and it became their biggest feud, man, woman, or child.
Yeah.
Like, it was their feud of the year, and yes, they shoehorned the title in, but, like, they didn't need to. And it goes, like, Sasha and Bayley, if they'd have done that right, they had about 6 opportunities to do that right.
Oh, yeah.
Without a single title on the line. And we know they can go. We've watched them go. We watched them go with them in friggin' NXT back in the day.
Bayley turned on her.
Tearing the house down.
Bayley turned on her earlier this year or last year.
But they didn't.
Right? And the whole crowd went wild.
Yeah, they never followed through. Ever.
They fought the backstage.
Yeah, like it was insane.
Yeah.
And then they took it off TV because they wanted Charlotte versus whoever for the title, Natty, to be more important. And there was nothing other than
because they were going to Canada.
Natty won a fatal 4-way against fucking some shit person,
Naomi,
Dana Brooke.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't even think about the idea that NXT is going to benefit from a predictive standpoint because they're not really touring. You don't have, when you see a pay-per-view in 30 days and you don't know who the women's champion is going to be facing, but you see that it's in Toronto, and you go, oh, they'd probably go with Natty here because it's in Toronto. Yeah. Or Cedric for the U.S. Championship because, like, okay, cool, well, it's probably because Clash is going to be in Charlotte.
Yeah.
They kind of removed that, which is kind of interesting. I didn't even think about it until just now.
Kind of piggybacking off of Josh, storylines that mean something that don't revolve around a title. Like, right now in NXT you have Candice LeRae and Io Shirai. That's still a thing. Like, they fought at the last TakeOver because Io snapped on Candice LeRae after Io was going for the championship and Candice was like her buddy. She snapped. Now you got a heel and a face. They went at each other in that fatal 4-way last night. They definitely went after each other. And now you've got Candice LeRae going for the title, let's say that she wins it. You've already got a built-in feud with the Io Shirai where they have a blood feud with each other.
I think WWE does
A better job.
accidentally. They do a really good job of planning those seats. They just never water.
Unless you're Ciampa and Gargano.
Bray Wyatt and Triple H at Royal Rumble going face to face 3 years ago, and the crowd going fucking crazy.
Yeah,
and then
nothing.
They'll squash that, like Daniel Bryan and The Miz. Like, that was a legitimate. They had a legitimate feud for years.
And then they don't acknowledge it when they feud again 6 months ago.
Yeah,
like for just a little bit.
I was on this podcast a year ago when we were dreambucking Mania, and my dreambuck was Miz Bryan and bringing that all home to roost, because that could have been one of their biggest things they had going. Luckily for them, Kofi happened. But they're not going to have that every year.
Right. Yeah,
like,
you're going to capture Kofi Mania.
Bryan Miz was one of my favorite. That was the heyday of SmackDown for me. I was saying to Kyle just earlier, that was my favorite time in SmackDown for the last 10 odd years, when you had
the official brand
original
split.
brands. Not the original, but like the newer version of the brand split. It was legitimately split, and you had Talking Smack right after. That was the fucking golden age of that show.
Yeah,
because
amazing.
Talking Smack just changed the whole landscape of that stuff.
You know what ruined that whole thing was when they were having 2 pay-per-views every pay-per-view every second week.
It didn't ruin it for me because it got to the
pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It got to the point where I was barely watching Raw.
Yeah.
Because I was that standing on SmackDown that I just didn't care that much.
SmackDown was really good then.
It was great too, because you got these guys that just performed and they're still amped up on adrenaline to throw them in there and have
and it's like
but not right after the ring,
Yeah.
so they could catch their breath. Because the promo right after a match is a pain.
where they're all blown up.
Yeah, when Braun did it when he lost at Clash of Champions, when he lost the first match, he was like, this wasn't on me. This was on Seth. And walking away, it's like, God, let him fucking catch his win.
And the same sentiments come out of just about everybody that wasn't a scripted show. For the most part, it wasn't a scripted show. The only person who had a script was Renee.
Oh, on
Talking Smack.
And it kind of blurred the lines between real and kayfabe.
And Renee Young has been in a couple of interviews about Talking Smack of how big of a ratings it got in terms of how liked it was, and she it worked for some people and it didn't for others. The naturally talented promo people, it made them into stars overnight. Some of them, Miz became the fucking man again.
When he stunned on Bryan.
And Bryan was visibly irritated and upset because he just got called out.
Yeah.
I miss it. I really do. If any of these shows can bring me back to that feeling again, where I look forward to 2 hours of straight wrestling and don't even care about commercials, that's my show.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm in.
Yeah.
Alan, do you have any final thoughts for us? Any other concerns before we put a wrap on this episode?
I would just like to see more surprises. I know in a social media era, it's
more
hard.
baby zaddies, or
Yeah, absolutely. But in a social media era, it's hard to really surprise any of us. We see rumors, we knew Bray Wyatt was going to be fighting at Hell in a Cell before it even happened, before the last pay-per-view even happened. But it's when you bring, I was mildly surprised by Luke Harper coming back.
Dude, that was so much fun seeing it there because we're watching, and then also I reach over at Marty or Josh and go, Luke Harper.
I fucking pop my
because it was
off.
behind my the cup of water and the whatever else I had in front of it. So I didn't see that part of the apron.
Yeah,
and I had no idea he was sitting there, and he's just hiding behind the barricade by the steel steps.
You saw him crawl out from underneath the ring. Where I was like,
that's awesome, right? Me too. I was already but I didn't know who the fuck it was because his hair was up.
Yeah,
and he looked and he's so slim. I didn't know who it was. And then as soon as he ran and did whatever he did, I was like, fucking, I forgot you two were even there. I was fucking popping like a 12-year-old. I was like, fucking Luke Harper's here.
He saw the pants.
Yeah. So it's anything. Even they over promote things. Even when you're gonna have Stone Cold come back, don't tell us one time. And then when that glass breaks, we're gonna be jumping out of our seat.
Mm-hmm.
We know he's not gonna do anything besides come out and drink beer and say some cool stuff. But it's don't tell us every time something's gonna happen. Don't say, oh, Brock Lesnar's gonna be on Raw next week or whatever. Surprise us with some stuff occasionally because it's actually cool. and they don't do that much anymore.
No, they don't. You're right. And I think the internet has ruined it somewhat, but you can do it. Fuck me, AEW have done it. At their shitty press conferences in the middle of a beach, and they have people surprise show up.
Right.
Like, if they can do it at that point as a t-shirt company, WWE, if they want to do a surprise enough, they can do it once a month.
But they promote because they want the ratings.
Yeah.
They say, Stone Cold's going to be on, so we're going to pop the ratings. But
right.
it's like,
that's the difference between them and AEW right now is that they are trying to retain an audience.
Yeah.
And one's trying to gain an audience, and that's it.
Like, I know it's been probably 4 years since I've seen The Rock on WWE, but like the last time he showed up at Brooklyn, you all remember that?
Yeah.
Like he was wearing like the jacket with Brooklyn on the back of it.
Was that when he had his thing with Lana and Rusev?
Yes. Like when he came out, like I legit jumped off my couch.
There's been a couple of times recently not recently, but in the last maybe 5-6 years that it's actually gotten me.
Yeah.
And like one of them was when Jericho somehow kept it away from everybody that he was going to be the number one entrant in the Rumble. When he came out, I was like, "What?"
The Hardys.
The Hardys at Mania.
That was cool. When Sting showed up at Survivor Series.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
That was awesome.
We knew that he was signing with WWE, but when AJ Styles came out as the number 3 entrant,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
especially because we'd never heard his music. We had no idea what it was, and then when it popped up there with the "I Am Phenomenal," and everybody just lost it.
Right.
Also, when they were going through, it was Mania 27. They were trying to pick the person that was going to be hosting it. It ended up being The Rock, but they were leading up to it. There were rumors that they were throwing out there about Justin Bieber and
Flo Rida.
Flo Rida, and there's just random people that are throwing out there. So and then so I had no idea who it was going to be, and then I was hoping it was The Rock because there had been that rumor too. And then they showed some girl walking out of a limo right before they went to commercial, and they came back and Justin Roberts goes and announces, "Hey, the new host is going to be," and then all the lights go out, and then it hits with the "If You Smell," and I popped in my apartment at college.
Yeah.
Just losing my mind.
Yeah.
I think that's going to do it for us. What do you think, lads?
Yeah. I think so.
Alan, we would like to, invite you for any future Wrestling Heavy episode if you'd like.
This has been fun. I'll definitely come.
I love it.
I'll be here.
Good deal. Next week, we actually are hitting our 1-year anniversary of Sports Trebuchet, so we're going to do a special little quick episode to talk on about 30, 40 minutes or so. Kind of touch base with the state of the show. This is our teasers. State of the evolution of the show. And also maybe review some of our favorite episodes. And then we'll be back to it.
The 11th. The 10th.
I hope you all have your tickets for Area 51. Go out there tonight.
We forgot to talk about that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Well, we'll see what makes how many
people make it out
American
tomorrow?
teens die tomorrow when they attempt
Naruto run.
Yeah. What was the date, Josh? The 10th?
October 10th.
October 10th will be the next show after the anniversary show, and we've got a big special lined up that's going to be, it is a special. It's going to be fantastic. But we're going to be doing a full WWE, NXT, SmackDown reorg and do a draft.
The draft is coming on the 11th. We're going to draft better than they do.
Yep.
Love it.
Essentially. We've still got to draw straws and figure out who's going to be what brands, but we have some pretty cool rules set in place. You know what, Alan? You'll be the judge. You won't be here maybe for that show, but if you are, then that's
if you want to, come on in.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, analysis on every single pick.
Go Team Dream number 1.
Analysis for every single pick.
I love that idea.
And if you can't be here, then we'll still give you the results at the end and you can vote.
Awesome.
I'm going to throw the vote out on Twitter, too. Have a good rest of the week, everybody.
See you in hell.
Hi, my name's Joshua Tracy.
And I'm Corwin Heller.
And we are the hosts of a statistics and sports podcast called Juicing the Numbers.
We cover the NFL, college football, MLB, and the NHL with anything that we like to talk about in between.
If you like sports and the numbers behind it, come check out our show, Juicing the Numbers on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you find podcasts. Hit us up on Twitter at JuicingPod.